the last time someone asked you what you wanted and you actually knew the answer? I mean, the real answer. Something beyond, I don't care, or whatever works for everyone else, or you pick your answer. There is a name for what happens when you stop answering that question. Researchers have been studying it for over 30 years, and it predicts something most women in this season of life are already dealing with. I'm Coach Janet J, and today on Your Next Best Step, we are talking about the woman who slowly disappeared and what it takes to find her again. Here's how it starts. Someone asks where you want to go for dinner, and you say, I don't care, wherever you want. Harmless, right? Then someone asks, what do you want to do this weekend? Whatever works for you. Your friend asks if you want to see this movie or that one. Either is fine. And at first it is fine. You're being flexible, easygoing, low maintenance. The woman who does not make things difficult. Then one day someone asks what you want, really want, and you realize you do not know. You're not indecisive. Somewhere along the way, you stopped tracking your own preferences. You stopped forming opinions about things that affect your own life. You made yourself so small, so accommodating, so smooth and frictionless that you quietly disappeared and nobody noticed because it happened with one whatever you want at a time. Now, I want to distinguish this from a few things we have talked about before. In episode 76, we explored invisible labor, the work you do that nobody sees. And that is about being unseen by others. What we are talking about today is you becoming invisible to you. This is also different from people pleasing. People pleasing is saying yes when you want to say no. Self-erasure goes deeper. It is about losing access to what you want in the first place. The yes or no question never even forms because you have stopped consulting yourself. And if you listen to episode 85 about the weight of being everyone's mother, you might recognize a thread here. That episode was about the identity trap of compulsive caregiving. Today, we're pulling on something underneath that, the slow burial of your own voice, your own desires, your own self across every relationship and every role, not just caregiving. In 1992, psychologists Dana Crawley-Jack and Diana Dill published a study in the Psychology of Women Quarterly that introduced something called the silencing of the self scale. It measured the degree to which women suppress their own thoughts, feelings, and needs in order to maintain relationships. The research identified 4 patterns, and I want you to listen for yourself in these. First, judging yourself through other people's eyes instead of your own. Second, treating care for others as self-sacrifice, always putting their needs ahead of yours, as if that is what love requires. Third, silencing your actual feelings to avoid conflict. And fourth, living with a divided self, a gap between who you present to the world and who you actually are on the inside. Over the past 3 decades, more than 50 studies across multiple cultures have confirmed the connection. A 2021 meta-analysis found a significant positive correlation between self-silencing and depression. And a brand new 2026 review in the journal Sex Roles synthesized all of that research and confirmed self-silencing is one of the clearest pathways from relationship accommodation to psychological distress. And here's where it connects to something even bigger. Self-determination theory, one of the most well-supported frameworks in psychology, identifies 3 core needs every human being has: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Autonomy means acting from your own values and preferences. And yes, that includes knowing what you want for dinner. It is about having access to what you actually think and feel. When that need is chronically suppressed, when you stop knowing what you prefer because you have deferred so long, well-being declines across the board, regardless of how good your relationships look on the outside. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you chose a restaurant because you wanted to go there? A choice that came from your own craving, your own curiosity, and just said it out loud. If you are drawing a blank, pay attention. That blank is data. It is information about how long you have been deferring to everyone else's preference while yours went dormant. Psalm 139:14 says, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. We usually hear this verse applied to our bodies, and it does apply there. Your body is a wonder. So is your mind, and so are your preferences, your opinions, your desires. The things that light you up, the things that bore you, the flavors you crave, the music that makes you feel alive. All of that is part of fearfully and wonderfully made. God designed a specific woman with a specific voice and specific desires. You were made to take up space in your own life. When you erase yourself, when you sand down every edge and silence every preference until you are frictionless, you are editing God's design. You are taking His handiwork and making it smaller, guarding your heart, guarding your identity, guarding the self that God made on purpose. And that is stewardship. Your voice belongs here. It is part of your design. Emotionally, self-silencing creates a growing gap between who you present and who you actually are. That gap fills with resentment, sadness, and loneliness, and that does not make sense because you are surrounded by people. Mentally, when you stop forming preferences, your brain stops offering them. You lose cognitive access to your own desires. Decisions become exhausting because you have nothing internal to consult. Physically, chronic self-suppression activates stress pathways. The research links self-silencing to higher rates of depression, and depression lives in the body, in fatigue, in disrupted sleep, in inflammation. Spiritually, if you cannot hear your own voice, it becomes harder to hear God's voice speaking into your life. Your prayers become generic because you have lost track of what you are even asking for. So here is your next best step. It is small and it might feel absurd. That's the point. This week, when someone asks you what you want for dinner, for the weekend, for anything, answer. Actually, answer. Skip the I don't care and the whatever you want. Name one preference, even if it is small, even if you are not entirely sure. Make a choice and say it out loud. I would like Thai food. I want to stay home tonight. I would rather see the early movie. It will feel strange. You might feel a little selfish, a little exposed. That strangeness, that is information. It is telling you how long you have been disappearing. And if you cannot think of what you want, if the question itself feels like staring into a blank wall, start even smaller. Stand in front of your closet tomorrow morning and ask yourself, what do I actually want to wear today? Set aside practical and appropriate for a moment. What do you want? You are allowed to want things. You are allowed to have preferences. God made you with them on purpose. Here's what we covered. Research spanning over 30 years shows that women who habitually silence their own needs and preferences experience higher rates of depression and lower well-being. And your need for autonomy is a God-given design feature, built right into how He made you. Psalm 139:14 reminds us that fearfully and wonderfully made includes your voice, your desires, and your identity. And your one step this week, answer the question. When someone asks you what you want, say something true. On Wednesday, we're exploring something that pairs with today's episode, the conversation you keep rehearsing in your head but never say out loud. What that mental loop is costing you and a way to close the tab. That is episode 89. Follow or subscribe wherever you are listening or watching so you do not miss an episode. I will see you on Wednesday. Take your next best step.